I've been hearing that for a long time. Enjoy the journey, enjoy the journey, enjoy the journey, enjoy the journey. But it's sort of annoying when you just want to get to where you're going. But you are where you are. And you have an option of finding satisfaction or finding dissatisfaction. Those are your options. You don't have the option of transporting yourself someplace else. You are not going to close that mileage, time and distance gap, but you do have the choice of being satisfied or not satisfied, and the power to do it. And the more you practice it, then the more power you have. Until then, each moment that you are standing in, that you formerly felt was dissatisfying because it wasn't all the way to where you wanted to be, is rich with new things that you want, so that every moment is satisfying. But suffering is more attention to unwanted. Contrast is contrast. Contrast doesn't mean wanted and unwanted. It can be degrees of wanted. Contrast doesn't mean wonderful things and terrible things. It's different things. It's variety. But when you get focused within the contrast on something unwanted, and you are not watering it down with wanted things, then the momentum of the unwanted can become so great that it is suffering. But let's talk about suffering. All suffering, all suffering. Do you know what all suffering is, big or small? It's depriving yourself of what your inner being knows here now about this. That's what suffering is. It's the depriving yourself of the fullness of who you are. And the longer you do it, and the more you do it, and the more intensely you do it, the more you deprive yourself of it. It's a little bit, and this analogy is like all analogies. It can help you, but it's not the whole story. It's like you might be a little thirsty, and there's no real suffering in not immediately going to get something to drink. But if you keep it up, it's going to get more acute. And if you really deprive yourself of the replenishment of that fluid, you're going to start suffering in a stronger and stronger and stronger way. So when you disallow this life-giving, replenishing energy to flow, a lot of humans get used to quite a severe degree of suffering as they deprive themselves of love and instead choose hate. And just because it doesn't kill them like not drinking water would, they put up with it. They acclimate to that kind of suffering. They acclimate to the suffering of hate, to the dissatisfying suffering of hate, when they could be experiencing the satisfying joy of love. But a lot of people, it has to get pretty bad before they make another decision. And by the time it gets so bad they're really suffering, they can't make another decision because the momentum is so strong. And then they have to do that terrible, all-inclusive thing of meditating. So much to ask of yourself. Oh, I've pinched myself off from well-being on this subject for so long. Now I have to quiet my mind. Now, stay with us because it's going to turn out good in the end. But the reason we want you to hear it this way is because it's the way the world has trained you too. Because so few people allow their natural connection to this source energy that is replenishing them and giving them clarity and guidance. And so most people have been encouraged by others to respond to life and to slow it down. And society in general, in many ways, is responding to the slowest in the equation. You see what we're getting at? It's like resistance is more dominant in your society than you want it to be, than you need it to be, than it needs to be, or than you intended it to be. More people are moving more slowly. Where the beasts, they are flowing more freely. New babies are the same way until you teach them that they need to slow down. And so in co-creation, there is a tendency to ask everyone to slow down to your pace rather than you to speed up to the pace of the universe. And there's nothing wrong with that. In other words, we're not suggesting that you wouldn't want to suggest to anyone that you're co-creating with that this would be better for you. And if you have a beast, a dog, or a horse, or anyone that you're co-creating with who will not listen to that, whose determination to be their own free spirit is so strong, then you need to let them run their own races and you run your own races, and you just don't try to co-create together. And many of you are willing to slow yourself down in order to co-create with someone else. But that thinking and that behavior always brings resentment later on, because you can't walk to the pace of someone else's allowance. You can only walk to the pace of your own allowance. We're getting somewhere really good with this, aren't we? And you're all right up to. So what you want to say to others, let's start in another place here. So your intention when you are flowing with source energy is to allow as much of that energy to flow as you are able to. And whatever it is, it's enough. You can't flow more energy than you've practiced flowing. But can you feel how different it is to not flow energy because you haven't practiced it and then feel unhappy about being bogged down in what is slow? It is so much more exhilarating. So this co-creation was about you wanting to understand co-creation. You're always in the receiving mode of something, just like your radio dial can always be tuned to some specific channel. So you're always in the mode of some receiving. And these days, what Esther is asking herself is, when you meditate and you really quiet your mind and then the thoughts start coming, there's a very good probability that since you've quieted your mind and you've been feeling that motion and you've been getting the impulse to move a little bit and your mind has really been quieted for a little while, that when the thought comes, there's a very high probability that that thought is coming right from your vortex, right from your inner being. But if you're in the middle of watching something that's been bothering you and an idea comes, there's a very high probability that that impulse is coming from someplace other than from your tuned in, tapped in, turned on impulse. So the only question that you need to ask yourself is, when that thought came, did it feel really good when it came? Because if it did, then it came from your inner being, and that may be why the animal was so willing to be cooperative with it. But if it came from your awareness of the scars of your friend, from the tired of her being dragged through the gravel by this great big dog, then that impulse was coming from a different place than alignment. Can you see the difference? The world at its most satisfying is a world made up of a lot of components, you being one of them, understanding that there are a lot of other components, and you doing your best to be in alignment as much as you can, and allowing law of attraction to put you together with other things that match you, so that you can move through life at a pace that is comfortable to both of you. So now what? What's bubbling within you as a result of this conversation? Because you see, a lot of people, you want to break that horse so that that horse will do what you want. But that horse might want to do what that horse wants. And you say, yes, but it's my horse. I need the horse or whatever to do what I want it to do. And we say, or you could be so in sync with what you want that the dog hears your intent and cooperates or doesn't without negative repercussions, which is the way much... Because you have the power to have done that with the clarity of your mind. Now, in essence, it's not so different because you received a thought, and the thought was, this dog is willing to cooperate. This dog wants to take the walk. This dog wants to be a cooperative component. But the thought translated into something that was, in other words, she would not want you to kick her dog, and the dog really didn't want you to kick the dog, and you really didn't want to kick the dog either, but you wanted the results that you wanted. And the whole point of this, we've been talking about this all day, you weren't quite ready to be ready to be ready to be ready. You were ready for something. And just because it worked didn't mean that it's the best thing, because it hurt your heart enough you were going to lie about it. So everyone's got to do what you got to do. In other words, we are not for a moment wanting you to feel uncomfortable about your behavior because of this attention that we have together. We're just saying that with a little more meditating and a little more alignment and a little more mind melding and a little more soliciting the cooperative components of the universe, that if you have a strong vibration about something, the cooperative components of those that you are co-creating with will come right along with you. When you sat before Jesus dripping your illness, he saw not your illness. Instead, he knew your wellness. And he knew it so powerfully that you knew it too for the time of his influence, you see. And then he said, go forth and tell no one, because they'll make you kick your dog. Go forth and tell no one, because they'll just talk you back into the vibration that was disallowing it to begin with. So your power of influence, your power of positive influence always comes from your most aligned state. And your most aligned state always is coupled with this satisfaction that broadens out into terminology like love and joy and appreciation and passion and empowerment and all of that. Do you know a week or two of deliberately turning downstream is all you need to start feeling wonderful? And do you know 30 days of feeling wonderful is all you need to manifest the biggest of dreams you've ever had? Do you know that you are 30 days away or less from everything that you've been asking for if you would just stop doing this? In other words, that sounds implausible, doesn't it? You've got to be kidding, Abraham. I've wanted that all of my life, and you're telling me that it's 30 days away? And we say, it's less than that away if you get turning and going with the flow, because you wanted it and it is created, and the universe knows how to take you to it. The circumstances and events are all lined up, and when you follow your bliss, you're going to find the path. And you know what's been keeping you from getting there? Keep going that way. No, I'm not. You say, yes, you are. We say, you're going that way. Well, I don't mean to go that way. I don't want to go that way. I want to go the other way because I'm miserable going this way. You're going that way. I know, but I hate going this way. I don't want to go this way. You're still going that way. Well, it's not my fault that I'm going this way. You're still going that way. It's my mother's fault. Still going that way. Maybe it's karmic. Maybe it's from a past life. You're still going that way. Well, it's not fair that I'm going this way. You're still going that way. Well, what am I doing wrong? You're still going that way. Well, how am I going to get this boat turned around? You're still going that way. I need to turn the boat around. I want to get this 30-day thing underway. I want to go the other way. You're still doing that thing. Well, Abraham, this seems impossible. You're still going that way. Well, just tell me what to do. Pet your cat. Quiet your mind. Stop watching those programs that inflame that. Stop talking to those people that talk about those things that keep you pointed that way. Look for reasons to feel good. Make a list of positive aspects. Buy a notebook and make lists of positive aspects. Look for things to appreciate. In other words, you can't think about that and something else at the same time. So it really is about think and feel, think and feel, think and feel, think and feel, think and feel. And at first, you're going to think and feel and think and feel and think and feel and think and feel and think and feel, because that's how you've been thinking and feeling, and that's what law of attraction's giving you. But before you know it, you're going to think something that feels not so much that way. Do you know when you sleep, your boat turns around in the stream every single time. And when you wake up, you say, oh yeah, what was I mad about? And you turn back around. But if before you go to bed, you could say, while I sleep, my boat's going to turn around. And when I wake up, I'm going to lie in bed and I'm going to think about the positive aspects of my life. Now when you wake up, you get a little momentum going this way. Now we're really making this sound like you are an upstream crowd. And you're not. But relative to those things that you want, that have not been coming to you, you have been an upstream thinker. You have been. Otherwise, you'd have what you want. So if you don't have enough money, you've been more this way upstream than you have downstream. If your relationship is not pleasing you or is missing altogether, you've been thinking more about things that make you feel bad relative to that than good. If you are not in your body feeling the way you want to, you've been thinking more upstream about it than you have down. If you're overwhelmed in your life, you've been thinking much more about how much you have to do than about the ease in your life. The universal law of attraction never yields to you something that is different from your vibrational frequency. So when you say, okay, I get it. I can find softer thoughts, and every day I'll get better at it. And as you do, you'll turn and go with the current. And immediately you'll start feeling better. And people who are watching you will say, what's changed? Did you get that job you were looking for? Or did you get over that illness? Or did the money that you need come in? And you'll say, no. Then why are you so happy? I know it's illogical, you'll say. Because what I thought I needed to be happy hasn't happened yet. I've just stopped doing what was making me unhappy. And I felt better. And then say to them, and I think I'm on the right track. I just don't think you can feel this good without good things beginning to flow into your experience. And we say, those would be the most accurate words that you could ever speak. You can't feel negative emotion.